Mr. Chairman, I rise in support of this legislation. First, I want to say that across the United States and around the world, we've seen a disturbing increase in hateful rhetoric and bigotry. And in a February 2021 report from the United Nations Special Rapporteur on Freedom of Religion or Belief details a global rise in Islamophobia and anti-Muslim hatred, and I ask unanimous consent to have that report included in the record. As this committee and Congress work to ensure that our foreign policy is centered on human rights, democracy, and the rule of law, we must act to counter this prejudice here at home and around the world. By creating a special envoy for monitoring and combating Islamophobia in the State Department, we show the world that we stand with our Muslim neighbors and the global Muslim population, and we're committed to a foreign policy never guided by fear, hatred, or bigotry. And you know, I have to say, I want to respond directly to my friend Congressman Zeldin's remarks. I too am a Jew. And I believe one of the most important values we share as a community is the respect for all human beings and the dignity of every person and the inherent right of everyone to exercise their own religious traditions. That is central to who we are as Americans. It's a shared value with so many others. And in fact, I come from the state where George Washington on August 17, 1790 came to the Touro Synagogue, the oldest synagogue in North America, to visit the Hebrew congregation. And they were wondering, is this a country which people can live their lives and have their religion respected? And in a famous letter, he wrote back to them, "For happily the government of the United States, which gives to bigotry no sanction, to persecution no assistance, requires only that we live under its protection, that those people should demean themselves as good citizens." And so, religious freedom was born in my home state, in Touro Synagogue, in those words from the first president of the United States. And so we should be very proud of that tradition and making sure that no one suffers discrimination because of their religious tradition is central to that. And no one is suggesting that this is not about pick one. We should, of course, and have condemned and will continue to condemn anti-Semitism and the rise of it, and we have a special envoy to address that. Absolutely. No one is suggesting equivalence. We have a responsibility to protect everyone from discrimination based on their religion, whatever that faith is. You don't have to pick one. That's the whole beauty of standing for a set of values that says everyone's right to religious exercise must be respected. And you cannot refute this significant rise in violence and anti-Muslim hatred across the globe. And so today is an opportunity to respond to that. And we should continue to do the work we're doing to respond to other forms of hate around the world. But it's sort of, we can't allow this whataboutism. Well, what about this other stuff? We should address that as well. But here is an opportunity to acknowledge this as a real issue for people all over the world and people here in the United States of Muslim faith. I urge my colleagues to continue the proud tradition of America standing up for religious freedom, for the respect for human dignity, the condemnation of violence. And I will end with one of the most disturbing trips I've ever made, that the images remain seared in my brain, was a trip to the camps in Bangladesh and meeting with the Rohingya there and hearing the experiences of what they suffered solely as a result of being Muslim. And I have never forgotten those stories and those images. This is a real issue. I thank my colleagues for supporting, and I urge everyone to support this Combating International Islamophobia Act. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.